Old Testament God and New Testament God, God of today, same person. That's what this video is about, guys. I'm just going out for a quick walk. So I'm getting distracted because this guy's playing really loud music in his car. Anyway, also, I just saw a car with a flat tire. Why does this keep happening? I told you guys, I keep seeing cars with flat tires. I don't feel like that's normal. Anyway, whatever. So back to what I was saying. Old Testament God, New Testament God. I'm cold, even though it's warm. And I attribute that to losing some weight. Because I always thought, like, if I lose weight, I'll probably be cold. Because I always notice that the skinny girlies, they're always cold all the time. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So, Old Testament God, New Testament God, same guy, like God of today. This is one of those things that niggles at my brain when I hear people talking about it, like, oh, well, God of this, God of the past was like this. In the Old Testament, God was filled with wrath. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, you've completely misunderstood God, and actually you should be more scared about what he's going to do now than what he did then, because in my opinion, obviously, the Old Testament, if you look at it historically, is a long period of time. A long period of history is explained, like thousands of years, even in the New Testament as well. But like, if you look at the whole Bible, it's a very, very long time. And the thing about God is that I find annoying about him, but I'm also grateful at the same time, although I still find it annoying, is he's so gracious. Like, he's so understanding. He's like, you have another try, you try again, like, try again. And that's something I learned a long time ago, that like God is always giving us another chance, another this. That's why a lot of times things take a while, because you might be like, I wish God would do this about this thing. But God's like, I'm trying to give you another chance. Because if I intervene in this moment, you're finished, you're done. Like, you're done. You are done. Like, you, as in us, as in me. I'm done. Like, if God decides to, as much as I pray for him to, and I'm praying for heaven to just crash down into earth, like, and everything. But he's the God that, like, oh, the God of wrath, the God of wrath. He gave Pharaoh, a worldly king, 9 chances, 9 whole chances. Like, I would never get that amount of chances with a human being. I would never. Like, Jesus, when they asked him, how many times should I forgive? I forgave 7 times. How many times should I forgive? He's like, forgive 70 times 7 times. He's like, more than you think. Do it. Like, God's standards are so high, and he's really trying to give us a chance. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, he's really trying to give us a chance. So when people are like, oh, the Old Testament God was filled with wrath. Bro, you should be grateful. Like, we should all be grateful. I should be grateful that, like, I get to walk around today and I'm not immediately being struck by heaven for the sins that I've done. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about, oh yeah, well, when I was whatever age. The thing with me is I got saved at age 7. I was baptized when I was 13. So the way I look at sin and me sinning is like before I was those ages, I guess, in terms of like giving myself an excuse. Either way, I don't give myself an excuse. I could have done better. I should know better. And I'll pay the cost. It's all good. But yeah, like, what do you mean? And so when I see people talk about God of the Old Testament being full of wrath, or Old Testament God, because I was thinking about this just now. just before I came out, that I used to have a friend who I was at school with. We were in college together, like at sixth form, and I've always been pretty open about my faith, like to anybody that would ask, but I would never really shove it down anybody's throat. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, by the way, you know. But if somebody asks me, I'll be honest. And if I feel like it's the right time, because that's another thing I find weird about Christians, is either being too scared to mention that you are a believer, or shoving your belief down people's throats. Like, set an example by being the person. That's what I took away from Jesus, is you set an example of who God is, not by telling everybody, not by shoving God down people's throat, but by being an example of godliness, like how you treat people, how you love them, how you look after them. So it's kind of like the same way that when people say to someone like, wow, you must have been raised right. I talk about this all the time, how it's so funny that when it comes to parents, if you're well behaved, if you're whatever, people be like, oh my gosh, you must have been raised right, your parents must be so proud of you, right? And then when people don't behave that way, no one's to blame. It's just, wow, you're just a spawn of Satan. Like, it could have nothing to do with your parents, right? I look at that the same way with God, where it's like, if somebody asks me, like, why do you choose to behave this way, or how did you get here? I'm like, because the Lord raised me, like God raised me. I'm a child of my Father, like, you know what I mean? That's crazy. I've just seen this doctor. He's the same doctor I saw in the hospital, and he just went to the shop. By the way, guys, he's tiny. Like, he's literally like 4 foot, I don't know, 5. Like, he's miniature. That's so funny. He has a high chair in his car. That is so funny. He's the exact doctor I had at the hospital. And I remember because everyone was like, the doctor's coming, and then he came in and it was him. And it was one of those moments where I tried really hard not to laugh. Nothing wrong, by the way. I don't look at things like height and really care, but it's just the joke of it all was just really funny. Anyways, he just came to the shop. Anyway, hold on. I was about to go back, but honestly, low-key, this is my problem. I always go outside and I'm like, oh, I don't plan to be up very long, and then I'm out forever. Anyway, so yeah, the God who's here now is the same God, and honestly, if anything, that terrifies me actually more than the concept of him being angry or wrathful in the Old Testament, because I'm like, whatever we're doing, like, we're all doing it under God's nose. Of course, guys, the mosque is open. Yesterday's video I didn't get to say because my phone was dying, but the church was indeed closed. Was actually open, only because it's Sunday morning. And I saw the church people, and it gave me the ick. I'm not gonna lie, it gave me the ick. I was like, you're taking yourself so seriously, but this church is shut most of the time. It's a little building. As somebody who also worked as an event planner for a long time, I think about like spaces and what they can be used for. Like, even myself, there's a festival in the UK, a music festival called Wireless, which I went to twice or once, I can't remember. And it's held in Finsbury Park, which is an area in London, which is going to be the best way for you guys to see me here, which is a park in London. And yeah, I saw a lot of artists there. Like, the years I went, I saw, who did I see? Martin Garrix is one of the big moments for me because I love Martin Garrix. He's like a DJ. Or maybe this side. I can't tell. I saw Fergie. I saw Nicki Minaj. I saw Anne-Marie. I saw like T-Pain, Sierra. Did I say Katy Perry already? I saw a lot of celebrities. Anyways, it's like 60 quid back in the day. So I can't believe that people are paying like £600 to go to Coachella. I'm like, really? Anyway, back to what I was saying. Like, I know what it's like to try and book a venue and book a space. And like, so when I wanted to host my own concert, I still want to do this one day, where I'll like book a space, I'll pay for everything, it'll be like outdoors. And I had this dream while I was still in London, like before I even got into singing, where I'd bring all the like people I know who are like musicians, and they'd all have a set, and they could all perform a set. And I would like the idea of being outside, because you're in public and people can hear you that maybe never heard from you before. So that was my plan. It's still my plan to do one day. So I know the idea of like trying to book out a space and all of that. And I don't know, like thinking about these things when it comes to God especially, it's like whatever I'm doing it in the face of God. Like God is always the face that's there. And I think that's what people are actually scared of, because if you are not in a relationship with God, like, by the way, I'm not saying that me and God were like, I'm going to go to Judgment Day and I'm going to be perfect and God's going to be like, you did everything right, daughter. You're like amazing. No. I'm a villain in plenty of people's stories, and not like I'm saying that they're making me a villain. Like, I really was the villain. Like, I really was the problem. I really did something wrong. And not just in other people's stories, even in my own story, I've been the villain, you know? So coming to terms with that and like knowing God, it's terrifying, the idea of like walking around in pride and thinking that I have absolutely anything to say other than thank God, and God, I'm sorry for what I've done. In 2026, like, God of the Old Testament, guys, hold on. Like, God of the Old Testament, like, you can hear my bag just like blowing in the background. God of the Old Testament is the same as God of today. Like, the same way that, like I'm saying about the churches being open and me thinking about venues, because like I said, I used to book venues, but also like growing up, a big part of why I was able to do dance the way that I did was because my dad used to give me the keys to the church building. And so me and my friends used to go and practice there. So we'd have like the proper like surround sound system music. And we used to go and practice for like a lot of stuff at the church. And so shout out to my dad for that. So I think about this stuff like having a venue. It's like, how many things could you be doing there? Like, there's like 40. How many people go to the church? Like, say there's only 20 people at the church, yeah? Say there's only 20 people at the church, or even 12. Let's go 12, yeah? If each person decides 1 month out of the entire year, I'm going to actually do something like, and it can be related to what you do for a living. So if one person, you know, I always go to carpentry, I think, because of Jesus. Also, I think any type of building with your physical hands is insanely incredible. And I just think it's so cool that people like can like know how to do stuff like that. I'm not like that. I'm not an artist. I'm not good at artwork, but I love art. I do. And so that's another thing I invest in when I can, is actually independent people's artwork. I will buy an art piece. I will pay more than how much it costs. That's also another side quest I also did in my life. I did work as a project manager for this art exhibition for a while. Guys, I've done so many jobs. But like once a month, you volunteer your skill set. Like, you're an accountant. Once a month in the church building, like on a day like today, in the evening, host an accounting workshop, right? Teach people about how they can better spend their finances, whatever. Next month, somebody that's a carpenter, talk about like what you do. Like, be like I want to say the word family. Like, be like a team, you know. The next week, excuse me, you've got somebody else. They love to bake. The wind is quite. Okay, I tried to fold the bag over. It's the next month. You're a baker. You make baked goods. Like, bring your baked goods. Teach a little lesson about baking. Like, teach even just one tip for people. that can help them with their at-home cooking or baking, something simple, and then like, the next week, oh, I make clothes. I know how, I'm a seamstress, like show people this is how you can easily like fix this, fix that, because I even had a guy once, right, who asked me, like, he had in his, because he was like a business owner, and he asked me, he was like, hey, could you like sew my trousers for me? And like, so he gave me his pair of trousers to sew for him, which I thought was kind of insane, because I was like, well, yeah, actually I can. But that was kind of crazy. But it's like a small skill, because why would he go and buy a whole new pair of trousers? Or if he likes those trousers, I can just sew them up. Like, God gives us so many skills, you know what I mean? So many different things. You're good at like encouraging people. Come and bring a motivational speech, like encourage the people, whatever you're going through, like God is with you, God is still there. Like, come and encourage the people, whatever job you do. You're a dog walker, you watch dogs. I would love that. I don't have a dog because I don't think it's humane for me to have one at the moment, because I feel like dogs deserve to have like access to like a lot of space and or a lot of things I can't personally do at the moment. So, but you're a dog walker, like come and do a training session and teach us about dogs, what you've learned, like bring the dogs. Some of us would just be happy to be there. You know what I mean? Like, go and like do your thing, because God has gifted us all, and that's what I'm trying to say, guys. God has gifted us all, and none of those gifts are more or less important than another. Whether you're somebody who's encouraging, whether you're somebody who knows how to bake, whether you're somebody who knows how to build a freaking wardrobe, whether you're like whoever you are and whatever you do, no one is more or less valuable like in the kingdom of heaven. And that's the thing that I feel from God myself. It's more like God is like, what do you do with what you've been given? And then I'm going to look at what you did with what I gave you. As in, like, that's what I'm saying is terrifying. Yeah, if you're just here, just judging others, pointing the finger at somebody else, like thinking you're better because what? Because you gave your life to Jesus and you think you're better now. Giving your life to Jesus should mean that you are humbled, as in like, oh, God, if I didn't have you, I don't know what the hell I would do, because I don't deserve this. Like, I don't deserve it. And yet I get to have it anyway. So who am I to go and judge somebody else and then be like, oh, you don't deserve to have God, or you don't have God. Get away. And no, he's not changing. I was saying about my friend before that I had at college. I get distracted in the middle of my conversations because I have so many thoughts happening at the same time. And he was like, I think, because when I was at college, right, guys, when I was at sixth form, and I've told you guys that my sixth form, so for those of you who are outside the UK, I'll explain. Sixth form is like the last 2 years of American high school. Okay. As in, when you turn 16, so right now, like my youngest brother, he's about to do his GCSEs starting next month. When you turn 16, you do your GCSEs. That's your first official, like, exam period, right? And then you choose whatever you're going to do next. So you could do individual subjects as an A-level, right? Or you can study a topic as a BTEC. And then now there's more options. We won't get into all the options now, okay? Because it's not what the video is about, but I know I want to get to my thoughts. Now, personally, I don't think either is better than the other. A lot of people think doing A-levels is better, is more respectable. And that's mainly because a lot of the highest universities, like if you want to go to Oxford, Cambridge, right? Oxbridge, as they call it. Oxford and Cambridge are the top universities in England. So you can only apply to one at a time as well. And your application has to be like earlier. So whereas you can like apply still now to college, if you wanted to start in September, if you want to go to Oxford, Cambridge, you have to have applied probably by January, like this year. You have to apply early, it's whatever, and this is where the fancy people go, like, whatever. This is where a lot of the government came from, their kids, and how they keep control. We're not going to get into that conversation today. Anyways, so in order to, you could do A-levels, like I said, that's how you get there. I did A-level chemistry, biology, maths, further maths, and then I dropped further maths. Mistake. I should have done chemistry, maths, further maths, physics. But anyway, we won't talk about that today. And then when you go on to then do, you could do BTEC as well, where like BTEC is where it's vocational. They're like vocational studies. So rather than like me who had to learn a topic and then do exams, you are doing the work of the thing. So the people who study BTEC science, they were doing a lot more experiments, like physical things, than like I was doing. Which actually worked out better, because one of my friends who I had at uni, she did BTEC science, and in the first year when you do chemistry, at least, a lot of people drop out because it's not as easy as people think it's going to be. We had a lot of people drop out in the first year. And like I said, I went to a university a sixth form, where it was the number one in the country. So they had the highest grades in all of England for this sixth form. Now, here's the thing. In that class I was in, particularly in biology, which is kind of ironic, as the years progressed, it was only 2 years, and at the time I had my first job. I used to go to the gym 6 days a week. I would get up in the morning at 6 a.m, go to the gym. I would go to work, like whatever days I had off, I would finish at like, say, because my lessons are pretty long, so like even if I had one lesson, I'd finish at 1. And then I would power walk to work. I'd finish at 8, 9, walk home. Or I'd go to, and then some of the days I'd go to like Bible study and stuff. The thing that stuck out to me was my entire class, like half of them, because we used to sit in a U shape, became gay. Okay? Men and women. So like we would do certain things together, like as a class. I also instigated, guys. I'm an instigator, I've told you. So one day I said to everybody, I was like, guys, let's all go to Wetherspoons and let's all get drunk before maths, because it would be really funny. Especially because I was later in the year. Like other people would turn 18 like September, October, like whatever. And my brothers are like that because they're both like, they're September, October babies. I'm a May baby. So like when I'm turning like 18, or when my birthday is, it's like the end of the school year. Hence why I was always doing exams like during my birthday. So I said to them one day, I was like, guys, let's all get drunk before maths. It'd be really funny. And so we did. So we went to Wetherspoons, and the whole class, all of us, yeah, this is the year where they were like putting the ones all over the campus. We're number one in England. But it's because, honestly, my maths teacher, he was not respectable at that point. And I think he was suffering from early onset dementia. And that's further proven by the fact that after we left, me and one of my friends from there, we both checked like on his Facebook, so I still had Facebook, and he had changed schools like every single year. And I feel like no one had the heart to tell him, like, bro, you can't do this. If not for him, I was going to study pure mathematics at university. I would have gone pure maths. So and the reason I chose chemistry is because I was like, I don't know, like, anyway. And yeah, so we did that. So that was pretty funny. But the thing that stuck out to me was how everybody turned out to be, like, a lot of people in the class became gay and were like, oh, I'm into women, I'm into men, or whatever. And then one of my friends, he's a straight heterosexual guy, right? And so he wasn't into like guys. And I remember distinctly, because I remember a few times we would hang out, and like he would come pick me up from work with my other friend, and they would come pick me up at Decathlon, because when I would be not at school, I would start at like 6 and I'd finish at like 2, so I'd still be able to like work the rest of the day, like have like socialize the rest of the day. I loved that job, guys. I loved being at Decathlon, and I especially loved doing the early shift. Ice cream van. Drama. So I remember he said to me once, he was like, well, I think God would be progressive, like he'd see how the world has changed. And I was like, in my head I was thinking, bearing in mind, guys, I'm 16, 17 at this time, so this isn't me of now, 2026, this is me of then. And I was like, actually, I don't think so. I actually don't think, and we never got into an argument or anything about it, because we just had a very respectable conversation, which, to be honest with you, as being a Christian and have been a Christian for such a long time, as I'm talking about, I've always only had really like healthy respectable conversations with people about Christianity. Like, I've not come against people that are like angry at my thoughts. I always just share my thoughts, and I'm just honest, and it doesn't backfire. Like, they're not like, oh, you are judging this group of people, or you think this. I just say what I really think, and I was like, I don't actually think that's the case. Like, and I think a lot of people think that. That's why I brought up this whole story, and I gave you guys this whole spiel and this whole background about when I was in college, and I specifically went to this college, by the way, because normally a sixth form, like I said, is like at a school or whatever, and you have to dress smart. In a college, you can wear whatever you want. I wanted to go to sixth form, but I didn't want to have to be forced to dress a certain way. And when I was at sixth form, guys, my outfits, they ate. Like, every day I was swag on the 10,000 those days. And then I have photos of it, like, on how I used to dress to college. Yeah. And so, but I wanted to do A-levels because I felt like it was the right thing to do. And it is what got me into university. Not the freaking guy. Oh my days, that's the guy. So I'm pretty sure that's the guy. So I told you guys that I went to recently. Hold on. So one of the kids I used to teach, right? Her parents, they got pregnant with twins. Now, they had the twins, actually not far from here. And they invited me to like the christening and everything. It was a very wholesome day, and like I was crying, like basically all service. I was crying in the church, and it just so happened that my old English teacher was the vicar, which I remember because she left school when I was in year 9. She left and she was like, guys, I'm leaving, I'm going to become a vicar. And I was like, that's so badass. Like, I thought that was so cool that she decided to do that. So yeah, so to see her there, and she had a beautiful service. I was crying the whole time. Obviously, they brought out the twin boys. They were beautiful, the babies, bless their hearts. That's the ice cream van. The sound of the ice cream van will always be a traumatic experience for me. And not because I was traumatized at the time, but because I'm traumatized as an adult, realizing how the adults behaved when I was a child with everything that happened. I almost wish the adults didn't do anything at the time. Like, I actually would rather have they done that, because then it wouldn't be in my head. But the fact that we went to court, we brought up the stuff, I was forced to go there. My mum had to take like a day off work to go with me to the thing. And then you guys said, oh, well, the girls don't seem that traumatized. And then now I'm thinking about that as an adult and realizing what happened. I wish nothing had happened. Anyways, so she was there and whatever. So I go to this thing. Yeah, I'm telling you about this guy who just went by. So I'm having all this. This is again why I don't like being in churches. It was in a church. It was in the church that's in the main town, like the main church in town where I live. So I'm all here crying and like, invested in the moment. This guy walks up to me. I said this before, and he leans over, like kind of like what I'm doing right now, leaning over the bench, but like leans over and he's like, you should go to church. So it's always the classic Christian thing of assuming I don't go to church because of how I carry myself. Like, because I'm not walking around looking Amish, like, you know what I mean? I obviously have to be heathen, That's how a lot of people think, and I don't really care about that, actually. So anyways, he comes up to me, and he's like, you should go to church, and you should whatever. The thing is, I saw him, not here, but, like, another part, like, from where I live, like, over there. I saw him when I was, like, walking, and I felt uncomfortable. Now, most of the time, I'm, like, there's people walking now. Like, there's people walking around right now. I'm not feeling uncomfortable. There's like 2 guys over there, and they're like both like smoking a cigarette or whatever together. Like, there's a guy who just came from the shop. There's another old guy who's got like a cane. Like, the mosque is open. People are coming out of that occasionally. Like, none of this is like registering in my head. It's like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. If you know what I mean. I'm just like, this is just life. This is just living. Like, everybody's just doing whatever they're doing. Like, it's not a big deal. But when I walked past this guy, I thought, like, his energy, like, I don't know, something about him just made me think, no. So I'm at this church service, he's come over to start talking to me. And also, my mum was there. I was with my mum. Thank goodness she was also there, like, to see that I'm not crazy. Yeah, because whatever. And he starts to talk to me, and then he's like, "Oh, you should come, you should." And he's so invasive. And then he was the one, I was telling you, this is why I say Christian guys are actually worse than worldly guys. Like, this is something I'm talking about. Yeah, Christian guys are actually worse than worldly guys. By the way, I'm trying, guys. It actually looks beautiful behind me. I'll show you. It's just the grass and it's just the trees. Also, these trees you can see here, I think they're so creepy, especially in the middle of the night. But anyway, so Christian guys, listen, sorry about the wind. I did try to pause and the wind is really bad. It's the UK, like, this is not like a tornado. Like, I was in a tornado in America, by the way, yeah, hurricane. Oh my gosh. When I was a kid, I remember being in one, because I distinctly remember that we were driving like across, it was in Florida, we were driving across like one of the bridges, right? And I remember my mom praying. I was in a car seat, I was a kid, excuse me, and she was praying, like, actually scared, like we're in the middle of a hurricane or whatever. And the car park we just came from, there was a Toys R Us, and no one else was there, so I think she just missed it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, yeah, what was I actually saying? I completely forgot what I was talking about. Let's start talking about the wind and the tornado. Hold on. Yeah, so I specifically remember, like, when I was there at college, when he said that, my friend, I was like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think God has changed. Like, and that was the moment it hit for me. I was like 16, 17. And especially because between like 16, 17, when I was at college studying science and maths, because people used to even ask me, they were like, how can you like believe in God when there's science? And I remember I used to think, well, because we all go through the same things, but with God, like, I didn't say it like this, but I'll explain it now. I have context of the situation, like, oh, I have like an answer, I have like something to believe in, like I have a solution. That's why I believe in God still. And science doesn't answer almost anything, and that carried me through even to university, where again I would get faced with the same questions like by my classmates, like, how can you believe in God? And again, I'm not shoving it down anybody's throat. Like, I'm not telling everybody like, oh, by the way, guys, everybody don't need to have a Christian. Like, but if you ask me, and it bothered a lot of people that I believed in God more than I believed in science. And I'm like, and to this day, I feel the same way. Are they trying to break into that house? Because the guy just tried to open the door. That is so weird. This town is freaking weird. Oh, I was telling you guys about the weirdo and the thing. Yeah, he was weird. Like, Christian guys are actually the weirdest. Guys from the world are actually so reasonable. Like, when I talk to men who are like not Christian forward with their approach, they're like the healthiest guys. They just themselves, and they're just interested in somebody, and they just want to have a conversation, and they just want to chat, and they just want to. I can work with that. It's the Christian guys, yeah, who be having some weird hypocrisies that I can't get behind. Like I said to you guys before, where I'm like, if a worldly guy says to me, hey, yeah, I'm interested in women, but like I would expect a woman, me and her, to like be having sex by date number 2 or date number 3, I'd be like, cool. Because that's you're stating it. And then you have a Christian guy, oh, well, I'm being celibate for the Lord. I'm celibate for the Lord. I'm not having sex with anyone. And then they're the ones who are the most ravenously, dangerously horny people of all time. I'd rather deal with the men of the world, like, to be honest with you, because at least they actually live up to what they live up to. And a lot of them are not like sexually driven. A lot of the Christian men are very sexually driven, like, in what they want, and then they'll find a way to justify it, or and like this guy who was being really forward, he was like, oh, I know where you live on such and such road, and he called out the exact road I live on, right? what the freakity frickin' frack? Like, that was like another confirmation about why I don't go to a lot of places and why I don't like to be in churches. Because why are you doing surveillance to the extent that you know what road I live on? And like I said, when I saw him and I felt uncomfortable, we didn't exchange any conversation. We didn't talk. We didn't like, oh, hey. Because, you know, I say, like, a lot of the dog walkers, people who got dogs, like, I will like say quick, hey, hi, or like even just like other random people. Like, if you're walking around, you walk past somebody, like, you guys see it in my videos as well, I'm sure, I guess. You're like, hi, you alright? Like, how are you? Alright? Yeah, you know, just like a quick little. We never did any of that. And then you now coming to me at church, he was like leaning over the desk. So he's like very much getting into my personal space, in my opinion. And he's like, oh yeah, I know you, and like, I've seen you. Why are you not coming to church? Like, I know where you live at this. I'm like, do you think that's going to drive me to the Lord? That's why when people talk about God of the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, I'm like, you don't know God, because God is watching all this stuff. Like, he's seeing it all. So even if no one in the world believes what I'm saying, even if the entirety of the Jury of the Sheep will come to critique me and tell me how, well, you must have done this and you must have done that. I was just there in the church crying, seeing one of my students, you know, she's becoming a big sister. Like, I relate to being a big sister, and her twin brothers are being dedicated. It's a beautiful service. It was such a beautiful service. My old teacher, she was one of my favorite teacher, like, to be honest, one of my favorite teachers. And she left to become a vicar, and she's leading the service. And I don't even agree with the Catholicism, as you guys know. But the whole situation was so beautiful, you know. And me and my mom had both got invited there. So it was also like a day I went out with my mom as well. Like, I'm in my feels, in my feelings. And I'm just like crying and like sobbing, like, you know. And then this guy to come over and be like, oh, I've seen you, I know where you live. Like, I was like, you freaking weirdo. Like, I actually think, like, and do you know what made me really think about this? Because I was thinking about this yesterday or the day before. Going to actually seeing my friend Danny, like my producer, perform. Because when he went to perform, and the last time I went to his performance, that wasn't I videoed the performance I went, that was the day after when I sang on stage, which is its own story. And there was a few people in the crowd that were like his fans, which I didn't know he had fans. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. And so one of his fans, two of them guys, yeah, approached me, because they were like in a group of them, and they approached me at different times. And these two guys were like, this is what I'm saying, like, the world is crazy. These two guys, yeah, they're just like random white British dudes, right? Not got any faith, not nothing. Both of them came up to me at different times, and they both just casually mentioned, which was the first time that it hit me that this is the thing nowadays. They were like, yeah, I'm bisexual. I was like, really? Like, that was I was just surprised. But then, because they were so chill about it, to the point where they weren't like I said, how Christian dudes act, where they're just overly sexually charged, where they're trying to prove themselves. And this is what I'm saying, is I'm like, God, I think God is actually trying to give us a chance to like actually deal with stuff. Because if you guys think about it, this time last year on my YouTube channel, because like I said, these guys are so nice. Like, they were so cool, they were so chill. I hung out with their whole group for like a little while, because I went to the event by myself. I hung out with their group for a little while, and we were all listening to them, and they were like, oh my gosh, you know Danny, like, it's so cool, I love it. Like, they were like proper fans, whatever. And it was so chill, like, it was so chill, so wholesome, like, nothing crazy. And everybody else, we all moved on with our day afterwards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, nothing had to happen or did happen. And I feel like the reason why we don't think God, Old Testament God, is the same as God of today or God of the New Testament, is because God is trying to give us a chance where he's like, actually, if I want to intervene, I can and I will. And that for me is scarier than absolutely anything else. Because, like I was saying to my friend, like, oh no, I think God's changed. Like, at college, He's not changed. Oh, I think no, you don't know God. Like this guy as well, who was like talking to me at the church here, and he proved, this is last year, he proved exactly why I don't like to go to church, because I'm here crying, I'm feeling emotional, I'm feeling vulnerable, I'm feeling like, you know, spiritually connected. These are like a family who I've worked with, and I love them, all of them, and now I have to like defend myself because you're here. I have to now like step out of my I have to now, like, I can't believe that. But then I can go to a freaking rock concert, yeah, and there's just random people there. Everybody's like drunk, high on drugs, and I'm being met with the most loveliest gentlemanly gentleman of all the gentlemen in life. They're being so nice to me, and you know, and they're just also very forward and honest about themselves. That just, that's where I'm like, you know what, yeah, when people are talking about Old Testament God versus New Testament God, I'm like, you should be more scared of God we have right now, because God is seeing all this stuff. He's seeing how what I go through with the Christian men versus what I go through with the men of the world. He's seeing what I choose to do with my time, what I'm doing with my day. He's seeing the church is closed over there. They got a new and lovely acrylic sign for the name of this church here, and the mosque is open. You've invested in that sign. You're open at Sunday morning, but there's nothing happening. Like, so we all, and the pub is also open. We should be more okay. They're getting pretty rowdy. The guys who are like at that house. I think they're like builders or something. I don't know what they're doing, but they're getting pretty rowdy. And his shirt is really tight, like tight enough that it looks like he wants people to notice his muscles. Kind of Nick, in my opinion. Like, just chillax, bro. But you guys get what I'm saying. Like, hold on. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I actually think that we are worse off, and we are underestimating God of 2026 or 2027 or 2028 we're underestimating him, because I really feel like he's giving us all a chance to change. Like, because all the people I've just mentioned, yeah, from the ice cream man to the guy at the church to whoever, God has given us a chance. Like I said, this time last year, I was making videos talking about everybody, like, let's like pray for whoever our leaders, pray they humble themselves, pray that they repent, you know. God can actually just pull rank at any given moment. Like, any given moment, God can pull rank. And the fact that we think that because he's not doing it means he can't do it is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, he can do it. It's getting windy again. He can do it. Like, in a second, God could just, like, this is one of those things that really upsets me, actually, on God's behalf. And not because I'm better than anybody else, by the way. I deserve hell and I deserve chaos myself. So I'm not better than anyone. Like, I'm not better than anyone in the world or anything. But like, the fact that, you know, the symbol of the rainbow, and how like that was his promise, I'll never flood the world again. I think you should find another way to kill us all that's not flooding, and like, just send fire from heaven, like, just destroy us. Because look what we did even with that. We took that and made that a symbol of something God doesn't even agree with. And when in reality, if we're being honest, and this has got nothing to do with homophobia, and like, I don't care about that, guys. Listen, be gay, don't be gay. Like, these guys, like I said, they were like, they're bisexual, and I was like, that's interesting. And like, you know, I don't really care. What I care about is, if God says something is right, he's usually right. And not just right as in because he's God, but right because it makes logical sense. Because it makes logical sense that a father and mother figure in a home who love each other, I've lived in that experience, guys. So in the first part of my life, like before I got saved, gave my life to Jesus. My parents are there. They were together. They were like, at least to me, seemed in love. And we used to do things like having family dinners as a whole, going on family holidays. And that was the like safest I ever felt in life, was like at the very beginning. when my parents were like that, and they were like, and I don't blame either of them for whatever happened afterwards. They are divorced now. I don't blame them because life is life, but like it had such a heavy impact on me that it's impacted me to this day, that the fact that they were like that, and then also because they were like new believers, they were like playing worship music. I sold my life to Jesus, like as a child, as a result of being in that household. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? The reason why I'm so strong on how I feel about God is because they created an environment in which I would actually give my life to Jesus and like never second guess doing that, like for the rest of my life. And that's what I did. And so I believe in it. Like, I believe, because I know what happened afterwards. My brothers will never know. Like, no one else will ever know. They'll never know what it was like for me to actually have that in the beginning shaped who I am. And so it goes back to what I said before. Like, oh, you're like this. Your parents must be so proud of you. Like, yeah. Like, honestly, my mom, like, growing up, she used to teach me when I was at school. She knew French. I did French in England. She's from Zimbabwe. She knew French better than I did. She's obviously in biology. Like, she works as an occupational therapist. She was incredible. She wouldn't make me do my chores while I was like studying, and she would also be very helpful. Like, my dad was the one who would always come to me when I would be like in anything to do with sports, and like I said, let me use the church for the dance show, like for rehearsals. He would and he was the one who gave me the advice that was like and I've carried that advice till now, and I will carry it for the rest of my life. One day when he came to watch my races, and he was like, run and keep running and don't look left and right, but just run with everything you have. Like, don't worry about what your opponents are doing. Just run with everything you have. And he gave me that advice when I was like probably like 8 years old, and I never forgot about that. I never forgot. Like, and there's so many things like from both of them. Like, my dad always used to say as well, like, if somebody tells you something is from the Bible, ask them where the verse in the Bible that is coming from. Like, where is that in the Bible? If they're going to teach you something. Like, I had so many good lessons and stuff, even if a lot of it was just in the very first part of my life. And then I feel like as things started to break, then God was like, he stepped into my life and he took over, and I gave my life to Jesus. And I will never be mad at I can't be mad at my parents. Like, I think a lot of people would think I would be mad at them, like, because people are like that, but I don't. I'm not mad at them. I feel like they did all they needed to do, and all they needed to do was create an environment where I would find God, right? And they did that. So I don't harbor any resentment or unforgiveness for them. Like, I love my parents deeply. I wish them a long, happy, healthy, lovely, thriving life. And they're a big reason why I am how I am now, even though I'm probably arguably not necessarily the version they would prefer I could have turned out to be. But because of all of that, and because I was really in the Bible and I was really reading the Bible, and like I was being encouraged, my dad would always buy me a Bible, and like I'd always have a Bible. My dad had all these Bibles, like all these versions, and like I said, they listened to their worship music. They had different worship music. If I'm in the car with my dad, if I'm in the car with my mom, they would be listening, like, and it would be like all sorts of music, like something really American, something really African, like all these different kind of musics, like, and cultures and just everything. And I understood, like, that's why I found God. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I understood the crossover, and I understand that he has been the same yesterday and today and forever. Like, the God who's in America, the God who's here, the God who's in Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, like wherever you find God, he's the same. And I've always known that. Like, I've always felt that, like, he's the same wherever I go. Like, if I go into London, I go to, oh my gosh, it's Hillsong, we're gonna do. If I go to Africa and they're singing, in Swahili, they're singing in Shona, they're singing in the African languages, I feel the same exact God, like the same God. I feel the same God. Like, I know that it's him, and I know him because I know him and we have a relationship, and I love him and he loves me, and I know God loves me. Like, that's one thing you can never convince me of, is that God doesn't love me, because God loves me. He loves me. and he's there with me, and that's why I wanted to just make this video and talk about, like, what do you mean Old Testament God, New Testament God? God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's the same person. Same person. And the only thing that's happening now is God is giving us extra time to get right, because he's like, hey, I'm going to bring, he's coming through with the 10th plague, right? He's coming through. It's up to us if we're going to, like, actually receive that and, like, be like, God. So I'm just trying to just be like, God, I'm sorry if I did anything wrong. And I don't think God's mad at me, but maybe he is. I don't know. I doubt it. But I'm trying my best. And I say to all of you guys, don't be, like, mistaken by this idea of Old Testament God. Like, he was doing that then and he doesn't care now. He cares. The highest possibility, from my experience, is that he's giving us time to repent. He's giving people time to repent, because when he comes in, it's going to be crazy. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to head off. But you've heard it from me. You've heard it from the horse's mouth, as it were. That's the truth. That's the truth. So, anyways, guys, Old Testament God, New Testament God, God of today, same guy. And it feels the same. Like I said, it feels the exact same. I've just known that. And, like, a big part of my childhood was whatever happened, and a lot of things that happened was experiencing God in all levels, and, like, seeing him in different places amongst different people, and just knowing, like, wow, this is the same guy that I know, like, personally. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyways, you guys, life's a game that's played to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you, and I'll see you in my next one.